Thanks, Riaz. Good morning. Dozens turned out to Abbotsford last night to discuss ongoing concerns about violent crime in the city. The public forum was held inside the Abbotsford Arts Centre. Those in attendance were told about what's been fueling the recent violence in their community. Police say it is a pair of rival gangs competing for turf and customers in the drug trade. The meeting was organized following last week's targeted shooting that ended with the death of a 74-year-old innocent bystander. A Surrey man who's pleaded guilty to killing 3 people is expected back in court for sentencing on September 30th. Last spring, Sarbjit Baines pleaded guilty to 2 counts of second-degree murder in the deaths of Jill Lyons and Karen Neighbours. The women were found dead in the same New Westminster apartment building 2 years ago. Their deaths were 2 weeks apart, and both were working as online escorts at the time. Baines also pleaded guilty to 1 count of manslaughter in the death of Arptal Saran. His burned body was discovered on Colebrook Road in Surrey in February of 2013. Vancouver Mayor Gregor Robertson continues to pressure the federal government to take in more refugees. Robertson will be pushing City Council next week for what he calls a 20 by 20 plan. He hopes to bring in 20,000 more refugees to Canada by the year 2020. Robertson says he wants to make sure there are services in the city accessible to everyone without fear of being deported. He spoke at Vancouver's new Immigrant Services Society of BC Welcome House. The house is scheduled to be completed next spring and will provide up to 130 beds for refugee housing.
These challenges are only going to intensify in the time ahead, but undoubtedly we have a crisis right now with Syrian refugees. Many people in this city want to help. Many people across Canada want to help and are frustrated by our federal government's lack of action to deal with the refugee crisis globally.
New data from the Canadian Rental Housing Index shows a crisis for Canadian renters. The problem is especially bad here in Vancouver. Greg Harper joins us now with more on this from the West End. Greg?
Good morning, Jody. Well, I've been looking at rentals available here in the West End, and I can tell you that there isn't much available. You have to get onto a wait list at many of these apartment buildings to get a place to rent. So there's lots of people that are living here, and they're spending a lot of their money to do it. This is a study that was just put together by the Canadian Rental Housing Index, and some of the findings here are a bit of an eye-opener. In Vancouver, almost a quarter of the city's renters spend half of their monthly income on rent. The majority spend almost a third of their income to keep a roof over their heads. This is an issue not only here, but in other major cities as well, like in Toronto and Montreal, where the numbers are similar. Here's how this West End renter says she's getting by.
I deal with it, you know, I sort of choose to be here, and I only come for a certain amount of time because I can't afford to stay here the whole year. And then I go away and share housing elsewhere because it's cheaper for me to do that.
On a wider spectrum, this study also found that 4 out of every 10 renting households spend a third of their income to pay the rent. Jody?
Incredible numbers. Thanks so much. Greg Harper reporting live for us this morning from the West End. Let's keep talking numbers. BC Teachers Federation calling on the province to restore funding for basic adult education. Tuition was free for the last 6 years, but now students have to pay as much as $550 per course or $1,600 per semester. Educators say Surrey has cancelled all graduated adult courses. Enrollment at Vancouver Community College has plummeted for basic adult education and college access programs.
These adult education cuts are taking opportunities away from those who need it the most: immigrants, Aboriginal members of our community, and those who are struggling to find good jobs to support their families.
We will lose all of these students, our future workforce, if the government continues to put up barriers in adult basic education.
Lucky couple from North Vancouver now owns the Peony prize home. This is so cool. Jill Dennison and Robert Robertson from North Van were drawn as the winners last night. They're proud new owners of this home, $2.1 million. It will be a Lakeview home at Naramata. 3 bedrooms, 3,000 square feet, featuring all of the top-of-the-line finishes, plus a living green roof. This is the 81st annual Peony Prize home handed out following the annual fair. So that living green roof going to get a little shot in the arm this weekend.